Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny McIntosh, and I am the Operations Manager here at Wolfnet. Today, it is my great pleasure to be leading the first of Wolfnet's new webinar series. This webinar specifically is called eAgentC IDX and How Do We Get Started. This webinar is mainly geared towards those new agents that might be joining the Market Center, as well as existing agents who right now don't have any IDX solution or who haven't gotten started with Wolfnet's IDX solution. So in general, it's a very basic webinar for those newbies there that are just getting started with their online presence and want to learn a little bit more about what KW offers as part of your technology fees. If there is interest in any other types of webinars, some more advanced that talk about the Genius Suite directly, or just general services that Wolfnet provides here, you can go to Wolfnet's webinar page, which is wolfnet.com/webinars. And simply scroll down through here, see the different webinars that we're going to be offering, what the topics we'll be covering, and who the audience is. So take a look at that. Feel free to share it with anyone and sign up for any of those ones that might interest you here in the future. So to get started with today's webinar, as I mentioned here, we are going to do eAgentC IDX, how do we get started? You have myself, again, Jenny McIntosh, Operations Manager. And then also I have answering any questions that you have through the chat panel, Chris Schrader, who is our MLS Administrative Assistant and works directly in our MLS department. So to get started, I'm going to simply just go over who is Wolfnet. And Wolfnet is a real estate technology firm. We specialize in property search systems, websites, and custom applications. We're based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a steamy 90 degrees here today, but we will hit typically below 30 in the winter, so it's kind of an interesting climate we've got going in Minnesota. Wolfnet's a privately owned business that has been in operations for over 16 years, which is something to be kind of excited about. For 10 of those years, we have been working with Keller Williams agents, market centers, and international. So Keller Williams is definitely one of those accounts that is near and dear to our hearts. We really enjoy all of the events and working with the agents and market centers, so it's really something special here for us at Wolfnet. And then finally, Wolfnet powers the eAgentC property search platform that's used for market centers and agents. And then it also includes KW.com and the KWLS search. So those are the specific things that Wolfnet kind of handles over there at KW. So some of you just getting started in the real estate industry or just becoming familiar with online IDX and websites and stuff might be wondering what exactly is IDX in general. So IDX stands for Internet Data Exchange, and you may have also heard it termed broker reciprocity. And what that means is it's a system where brokers give each other blanket permission to display their listings on each other's websites. So before IDX became available and used throughout the country, a consumer would go to a brokerage's website and they would only be able to see that brokerage's listings, which caused a problem if the consumer wasn't interested in any of those listings or if that brokerage didn't have listings, for example, if they mainly focused on buyers. So with the introduction of broker reciprocity, what that did is it allowed all of the listings that are available in the MLS to be displayed on all of the websites that the agents and brokerages host in that market. So having an IDX solution on your website gives the consumers access to all available listing information in your area. And the best part about IDX is that leads generated from all of the listings go to you. And that is because the consumer is on your website. It doesn't matter if you didn't list that specific property. If the consumer wants to go see it, they're going to contact you because they're on your site. So now that we know what IDX is, what exactly is eAgentC IDX? Wolfnet and Keller Williams Realty International have a partnership together that allows Wolfnet to provide its IDX solution to all market centers and all agents with Keller Williams. the eAgentC IDX solution provided by Wolfnet is included in your technology fees, and there's no additional cost for our services through Keller Williams. So today I'm going to go over the basic top 4 steps that you'll need to do to get started with your eAgentC IDX. Step 1 will be to request the IDX. Step 2 will be to complete the MLS paperwork if it's required. Step 3 will be to add the eAgentC IDX to your website. And then step 4 will be to configure your IDX based on your preferences. So step 1 is requesting your eAgentC IDX. So although all Keller Williams agents and market centers have the ability to have Wolfnet's IDX as part of your technology fees, you need to go through the steps to request your IDX solution to get started. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to log into your mykw.com intranet. Enter your username and your password. Then you're going to navigate to the technology menu. From there, you're going to click on Agent Website. Click Agent Website Administration. Then you're going to navigate to Step 4.0, select Step 4.1, and once you get there, you're going to see a checkbox that says, yes, set up my eAgentC IDX powered by Wolfnet. You're going to click that checkbox and then simply click the Sign Up button. And that's all it takes to request your eAgentC IDX solution, just the simple checking of that checkbox within your KW intranet. So one of the common things that we see a lot that comes to us from the agents who go through those steps is they go to that section and they actually don't see a checkbox at all. So they'll reach out to us and say, my checkbox is missing. What are the next steps I need to take? So when the checkbox does not appear, that means that your MCA has not yet added your MLS ID number within your KW profile. So your MCA will simply need to log into their access level within mykw.kw.com, navigate to the information section, and update your profile with your agent MLS ID number. So if this specific issue happens for you, you can simply copy these steps from this presentation and send it over to your MCA, or you can email Wolfnet directly and we will send you the steps that you would need to send to your MCA. All MCAs are familiar with this process, and that should not be a problem to go ahead and update that MLS ID number. Once they do, then you can log back into your KW.com and you'll be able to see that checkbox once that happens. So step 2 in this process, and for some people this part can be one of the most complicated or time-consuming, is completing that MLS paperwork. So the first question that usually comes about when an agent is finished requesting their IDX and they realize that they have to complete MLS paperwork is why? Why do I need to take this extra step? And MLS paperwork is required by some MLSs to serve as a method for obtaining approval to display IDX data. So by completing the paperwork that's required, you are notifying the MLS that you will be using Wolfnet. You have your brokerage's approval to display that IDX data, and you agree to follow the IDX data rules and regulations that are mandated by your MLS. So in quite a few MLS markets, this is a requirement. So you can request your eAgentC IDX solution, but it won't be enabled and available on your website until you complete this step. So to determine how do I complete the MLS paperwork, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need to determine if you even need to do it in the first place. So right now there are 2 ways to check to see if MLS paperwork is required by your MLS. The first step would be to check with your MCA or tech coordinator. Those 2 people within your office are highly educated in the services that are provided, and I'm sure they know your MLS very well. So they can direct you to what you need to get started, and if they can't, then Wolfnet can help you as well. The other step that you can take to find out if MLS paperwork is required is to actually log in to the support system for KW.com and determine if MLS paperwork is required. So I'm just going to navigate that step here. And so you would go right here, and you're going to check and say, is paperwork required? And when you click here, what it will do is it will open a spreadsheet, and this will give a list of all of the markets that are serviced by Wolfnet, and then it will tell you whether a paperwork agreement is needed or not here. So you can come over and you can see, is our agents allowed to have IDX? Is an agreement needed? What are the specific notes? And then what is the link to the paperwork itself right here? So if you determine that MLS paperwork is required by your MLS, you can simply click on this link and it will pull up the paperwork that you need to fill out. You can print it right on the spot. You can also navigate to that section I just went through within step 4.1 here in your KW intranet. So you would go through the process, check that checkbox, and then you would receive the following note. You're almost finished. Please check with your MCA or tech coordinator to determine if there are paperwork required by your MLS. You can check with them there, or you can simply click on this link. That will take us again to this spot where you can check the spreadsheet to see if paperwork is required. So once you determine if paperwork is required, you will simply need to complete the documents using the sample agreements that we saw in those links that I just demonstrated. So within that paperwork there, you'll not only see the full IDX agreement that will need to be completed, but you'll also see a sample version of that paperwork. And what the sample version will do is it will actually show you which fields you need to have completed and who they need to be completed by. So for example, a lot of the paperwork actually requires signature from the broker of record within your market center. So on the sample paperwork, it will say broker of record signature. So that sample paperwork can be used as a guideline to determine how the MLS paperwork is completed once you've determined that you need to actually complete the paperwork to get started. So as I mentioned, most of those agreements are going to require both your broker of record as well as Wolfnet signatures. So those links that I was just showing you in that spreadsheet to that paperwork actually already includes Wolfnet's information and signature. So you won't need to go to your broker and to Wolfnet to fill out that paperwork. You can already have paperwork in your hands that has the Wolfnet information. And if you receive paperwork from another source, for example, there are some markets that say the agent needs to reach out to the MLS directly to gather that paperwork, then you can go ahead and send that paperwork to Wolfnet and we'll complete our portions for you. So once you're done completing that MLS paperwork, you've checked it over, everything's filled out correctly, and you're ready to send it in, you can go ahead and you can send that paperwork to the compliance contact for your MLS via email or fax. You can determine who the compliance contact is by going to your MLS's website or giving them a call and asking them who you need to reach out to send in your MLS paperwork. The other step that you can do is you can actually send your paperwork to Wolfnet via email or fax, and we'll go ahead and submit that paperwork to the MLS on your behalf. Wolfnet's very familiar with all of the markets that we service, and we can go ahead and send that over to the compliance contact for you and get that process started for you. A big question a lot of our customers have is how long does it actually take to receive MLS paperwork approval? So once you send in that paperwork to the MLS, how long does it take for them to come back and say that you're good to go? And MLS paperwork approval can take anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks, depending on your MLS. However, the average response time is typically right around 3 to 5 business days. So typically what will happen is the MLS will send approval via email to both you and Wolfnet. The email will say something to the effect of, John Doe is approved to display IDX data on their website. However, if you receive the approval directly from the MLS and notice that Wolfnet was not notified, then you're going to want to forward that approval email to kwmlssupport@wolfnet.com. Once we receive that notification, then we can go ahead and move on to the next steps that are needed. So one of the common questions that we get a lot of times with MLS paperwork is that you looked at the spreadsheet, you saw that MLS paperwork is required, but there aren't any links to paperwork, and instead you're being told to contact the MLS directly. What does that mean? And what that means is that your MLS only provides MLS paperwork directly to their members, so their brokerages and their agents, and they do not allow Wolfnet or any other IDX vendors to have a copy of that paperwork. So if that's the case for your market, then you'll simply need to reach out to your MLS via phone or email and request approval to display IDX data. Once you make that request, the MLS will let you know what steps need to be taken to receive approval, and then you can move forward from there. Another common question is that people will look at the spreadsheet and they'll determine that no MLS paperwork is required at all. So what does that mean? And that means there's no extra steps required to receive approval from your MLS to display IDX data. So once Wolfnet has received your request, once you've checked that checkbox within step 4.1, you will go ahead and get your IDX solution up and running within 24 hours. So we've gone through the steps for MLS paperwork. We've done all that. We've sent in our paperwork. We got approval from the MLS. What's next? So step 3 is going to be adding your eAgentC IDX to your website. So what will happen when you first become enabled, when you first receive approval from the MLS, is that you're going to receive a welcome email. The welcome email will look something similar to this, and it will contain the links that you need for your IDX solution. So the first link here is the link for your property search, and this shows you what links you're going to need to add to your website. The second link is for all of your featured listings. So this link right here will show all of the listings that you have for sale, and it updates automatically, so you won't need to go in and modify that link every time you get a new listing or you have a listing that sells. And then finally, this is going to contain the information for Wolfnet's back office. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Wolfnet's back office here at the end of our presentation, but Wolfnet's back office is where you can log in to administer your property search as well as view the leads that have been generated from your property search. So holding on to this information about how you get to the Wolfnet back office is really important, and you're going to want to hold on to that. And then lastly here, it's going to contain Wolfnet's contact information right here at the bottom. So if you get to a point where you don't know what to do next or you need assistance, you can simply reach out to us via phone or email, and we are more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. So adding your eAgentC IDX to your eAgentC website, how do we do that? Well, once we turn on your IDX is automatically added to your eAgentC website. You don't need to do anything. It just goes there automatically. So some of you might be looking at this and going, where is that? What is she talking about? And this section right here is actually what we see in step 4.1. So I'm going to hop over here and show you right here. So this is step 4.1 in the MyKW side of an agent who's already gone through all of the process and has requested their IDX and they've been enabled. So once that happens, the Wolfnet URL field right here is going to be automatically populated. You don't need to do anything to put it in there. It will go in there right away. The other sections here that you are looking at, you might be wondering what those are. And what these first and second IDX link sections are for, they're for agents and brokers who may service multiple markets. So for example, if you are in the California area, you might service multiple areas, not just specifically one MLS. So you are allowed to have as many IDX solutions as you want through the eAgentC technology platform, as long as they're in different markets. So you might get started in one market and then want to add additional, and when you do that, these additional fields right here can be used to display more than one IDX on your website. The other thing you might notice when you're back here is this display KWLS search. So what that will do is you have the ability to turn on or off the ability for consumers to navigate to the KWLS from your website. And then finally, a lot of you will have a quick search on the home page of your eAgentC IDX website, and you can determine whether that goes to Wolfnet or goes to the KWLS by simply clicking one of these radio buttons. Of course, before you navigate away from this page, you're going to want to select Save here. So here's an example of the eAgentC IDX on an eAgentC website, okay? So a lot of agents will get through the process, they'll be enabled, they'll know that their IDX is showing up on their website, but they won't have any idea on how to actually get to the property search on their website. So to do that from an eAgentC site, you're going to want to navigate to your website and then click on Property Search and then click Search for a property in your area. So if I come right here and I go to nikkiryan.com, this is an eAgentC website with IDX. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to navigate to the property search option. I'm going to click that button. Then I'm going to select search for a property in your area. Upon clicking that button, I'm going to be taken right here to this page, and this is your Wolfnet IDX solution that was automatically added to your website. So now when consumers access your site, they can come in here, select their search criteria, and view the homes that are for sale in your market. So another thing that a lot of agents are wondering is they have an eAgentC website, but then they also have a custom website. They might use a custom web designer, or they might have a WordPress site, or just a website that operates on another platform. And they want to use the eAgentC IDX powered by Wolfnet on that site as well. And you can, of course, do that. So in addition to your eAgentC website, you can add your IDX to any custom website that you want. Wolfnet's property search can function on multiple websites at the same time. So if you want to have your property search functioning on your eAgentC website as well as your custom website, you can do that, and there are no additional fees for that service. If you're unfamiliar with how to add IDX to your custom website, then you can just simply take those links that were in your welcome email and forward those on to your web designer. Upon doing that, your web designer will be able to add your property search to your custom website, and then you'll have IDX on both sites at no additional charge. So the example here that I'm showing is redcanoerealestate.com, and that's actually a WordPress site that incorporates Wolfnet's IDX in there through the KW technology platform. So as I mentioned here, you can use Wolfnet's IDX on multiple websites at the same time. So here's an example of an agent who's using it on a top producer site, on their eAgentC website, and they're using it on their blog. So you can use it on Craigslist, you can put it on Twitter, Facebook, community pages, your blogging. You can really use this platform across the board. You don't have to just use it on your eAgentC platform. That's something that's really neat to Wolfnet's IDX solution, and a lot of agents really enjoy that piece of it. So now we're going to move on to the final step here, and that is how to configure your eAgentC IDX solution. And to configure your eAgentC IDX, you're going to want to go into your Wolfnet back office. Now your Wolfnet back office can be accessed via those credentials that we just saw in our welcome email. So a lot of you might be wondering, what is the Wolfnet back office to begin with? And the Wolfnet back office is a powerful lead management and incubation tool. It's also a place where you can customize your property search via settings and different preferences. Now the back office has a vast majority of really neat tools. And I'm not going to talk about all of those today, but if you want to learn more about the back office and about the sections that we're not going to cover, then you can check out our Wolfnet webinar on the back office. I believe it's titled Back Office 101. And there's also another webinar called Property Search Configuration. And those two webinars are going to go in depth into the back office and explain all of the functionality that I'm not going to cover today. So the first step that you're going to want to take within your back office is you're going to want to review your contact information and make sure it's correct. And the reason for that is because if your contact information is not correct, then you could potentially not receive lead notifications from our system, and you could also potentially not be showing your correct listing. So the 4 places that I would recommend checking to begin with are checking your MLS ID number, your email address, your phone number, and your website address. The next section that you're going to want to check out is the section titled Reports. And Reports is quite possibly one of the most important parts of the back office because this is where all of the information about the leads you're generating is contained. So if you navigate to the back office and then simply click on the Report section up here, you'll be able to see information about the consumers that are visiting your website, how often they're visiting, what listings they're looking at. You can also make notes about those consumers to come back and check on them at a later date. One really important thing that I want to point out about the leads generated from the Wolfnet IDX solution is that all of the leads feed directly into eAge. So any leads that are generated on your eAgentC website or your Wolfnet IDX are going to go into the eAge system and can be managed using those marketing platforms that you guys have access to through eAge. So that's really important and a really cool feature and something that's good to know. So that go ahead and concludes the presentation that we had today for the eAgentC IDX, how to get started. Here's some contact information for Wolfnet. And then I'm going to go ahead and take some questions if anybody has any questions that they want to ask. So one of the questions that I see here is how do we find out if our office needs paperwork? So to find out if your office needs paperwork, you're just going to simply navigate here to the KW support database. You're going to click on please click here, and then you're going to go ahead and review that spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet will tell you if paperwork is required, and then it will also link you to that paperwork here. Okay, great. Well, that's going to go ahead and conclude our presentation today. If you guys have any questions about anything after the presentation, you can go ahead and you can reach out to Wolfnet using any of this contact information. If you guys had a question that you submitted via the question panel in the webinar that did not get answered, we will go ahead and review those questions and send the answers to you directly. And again, lastly, I encourage all of you to take a peek at the wolfnet.com webinar schedule and share that with the agents in your office, share that with your fellow agents, sign up for any of the additional webinars that we have here, and please be sure to check out what's next in our webinar series. Thank you.